Let me see if we can move the slides on. Right. So my starting point here is just we'll work our way round what is a sort of typical, what I sort of see it as the process that you want to pursue in terms of building a more sustainable brand. But you would probably recognize this from a classic planning, implementation, project planning model. I've just adapted it here in terms of what you might aim to do in terms of sustainability. So there's no magic or rocket science here. But starting at the top, obviously, first of all, what you want to do is understand, where is your position on sustainability at the moment. Understand your, what I call your sustainability value chain, and I'll explain that a little bit more in a minute. You want to understand impacts and opportunities. A lot of the debate around sustainability, particularly in the environmental sense, is about impacts, about the effectively the damage that we're causing, so the risks and impacts. But there is a huge amount of opportunity here, especially from a brand perspective. So it's important we bear those in mind. Obviously, setting priorities, sharing your strategy, sharing engagement, talking to others, letting people know where you are, where you're heading is a really, really important part of this, which is why marketers are so important. It's not about a point in time, it's about a journey, it's about direction. So set priorities, share your strategy, then pursue plans and actions, actually get stuck in, do stuff. There's an awful lot of talk in the sustainability world. There needs to be a lot more action. As I said, engage with stakeholders, communicate progress. I know journey is a much overused word, but this is very much about where you are, where you're heading, not necessarily always about where you've come from. And, from a very positive point of view, grow your business, grow your brand, but do that sustainably. So that's the kind of guiding model, as I said, no rocket science, no magic there, but that's where we'll be aiming in terms of helping to understand how you build a more sustainable brand. So before we get into that, I'd like to start off with a clarion call or a call to action for marketers specifically. We are an audience that are important in business, we're important in our professional firms, but often we get lost or we don't take a leading position in the sustainability debate or the development of a sustainable agenda, more sustainable agenda within a firm. So we're asking a lot of questions. Isn't it our job just to sell more stuff? We worry about greenwashing. We worry about whether customers or clients will pay to be more, in brackets, sustainable. We worry about where we are competitively. Are we already behind the curve? Can we use this as a differentiator? Because marketers like to cut to the chase, communicate simple, clear messages. We worry about the complexity of sustainability. We also understand that it's not just about customers, so we want to understand what other stakeholders think. And I think there's a big question behind all of that, which is, in a move to a more sustainable business, in a development of a more sustainable brand, should marketing lead or should it follow? Is this an agenda we should be at the front at, or should we join others? I firmly believe that we should be right at the front of the agenda. And the reason why that, I'll say more about this as we go through, but the reason why is I think we have a bunch of skills, a bunch of capabilities that mean it's difficult for organizations to progress on this agenda if marketing is not, at least in the thick of it and more likely at the front of it. We've got some really great analytical skills. There's a lot of understanding, a lot of data, a lot of a real hard evidence that you need in terms of progressing your sustainability agenda. So needs analysis, market research, data and analytics, all those are really important to progress. But more important than that, you need to progress successfully, you need communication skills, you need change management skills, you need stakeholder engagement skills, you need to understand customers. That's where marketers thrive. And I think if that gets lost from the sustainability debate and the development of a sustainability agenda, then an organization won't succeed. So I think marketers need to be at the heart of it. So there's my call in the first instance is get to the front of the queue, get involved with this, and I'll say a little more in a moment about how to do that. So because we think marketers are so important to this, at Cambridge Marketing College, we have developed what we call the Marketers Sustainability Toolkit. I'm going to be using some of the ideas and concepts from that in this talk. But if you'd like to see it in complete, and it's not a huge document, it's a few slides, a few ideas, a few concepts, a few practical checklists of things that you can do, then please do go to marketingcollege.com/sustainability and you can download the toolkit from there. It's freely available. Some of the things that it includes, so we've included a Jargon Buster in there. I'm not going to go through all of these, but sustainability can be seen as a complex subject matter. It's got lots of different aspects to it. We want to try and help you cut through that, understand, what all the different areas are, and get to the frameworks, get to the models, get to the ideas that are useful to you, to your business, and to your customers or clients. So you can look at our Jargon Buster, and there's a link in the Jargon Buster to a bigger resource, which a website called ED provides, but there's something like that. And then we also do something specifically on a carbon explainer. So if you're confused on all the stats and all the ideas around carbon emissions, greenhouse gases, we've got a simple schematic that hopefully will help you understand that and try and sort of demonstrate how we feel that marketers can play a role in terms of not oversimplifying, but simplifying some of these concepts and connecting with people around them. So as I sort of say, sustainability to be able to progress, to move forward, does need simplifying. Sometimes you have to get into the detail, sometimes you have to get into the complexity, but we know as marketers that simple, clear messaging cuts through. So there are a number of frameworks, a number of models that help you do that. The gold standard are the United Nations Sustainability Goals. They really are the established understanding about what's important in terms of sustainability and where we're trying to go. You can access those and view them, and I'll say something about them in a moment. And then there are two particular models, simple sort of models and frameworks that people regularly use, and I'm going to touch on both of them. The first is Environment Social Governance Framework, ESG, which the PSMG conference was focused on last week. And the other one is you might be familiar with. It's known as the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit, and I'll say something about that in a moment. So first off, the Sustainability Development Goals. If you're not familiar with them, it's worth spending some time. The link there to the UN site where you can get all the information. It's clearly unexplained, but there are 17 of them. So it's not a simple framework. It is clear, it is comprehensive, and it does demonstrate that sustainability is a broad agenda. It's not just about climate change. It's not just about social issues. So there's an interlinking and an intermixing here of concepts, but it's very clear, and it's well worth a read and understanding in terms of each of those 17 kind of quite where we're heading, where we're going. There's some very clear targets and indicators in relation to each. So if you're not familiar with the UN Sustainability Development Goals, you'd like to get your head around what sustainability in totality means, then I'd recommend that's a good place to start. But as I said, it is, there is a lot. You don't want to go out to people and in your messaging and in your communications start talking about 17 different goals. So that's why people tend to boil it down into a few simpler models. So first off, and probably been used for the longest period of time, it's a model that's been around for about 25 years now, is the triple bottom line of people, planet, and profit. People often trot those out as if we all understand exactly what we mean, but I've just given a little sort of short explainer of what we mean there. So by people, we mean social inclusion. How do we progress together as a diverse, equitable, and inclusive society? And in terms of professional services firms, I will come back and say a bit more about that in a moment. Environmental balance, we all understand, I think, and see and recognize now the issues around a climate emergency, but the planet piece extends a lot further than that into how we protect and restore the natural world. And I'm sure, whether it's plastics in the oceans or the loss of species, we all recognize that there's a lot more to the natural world and the impacts we're having on it than just the climate emergency. I'm not saying the climate emergency is either small or simple. It's a massive challenge in itself, but the planet piece extends further than that. And then the profit piece has always been taken as just kind of like, well, we need to keep on making money and then do the right thing for our people and the right thing for the planet alongside it. But that profit piece, in terms of the triple bottom line, has been extended in terms of how do we ensure that there is an equitable division of the value derived from economic progress. So you will all have seen articles, commentary around executive pay, for instance, or shareholder returns. So it's not just about making money, but about whether the value that we gain from economic progress is equitably shared. So the people, planet, profit model is a good one to get your head around, because it does start to group all of those issues, all those 17 sustainability development goals and all their targets and indicators into a model that you can easily understand and easily communicate. The other model, the ESG model, environment, social governance, is more related to the financial and investment community. So if you're in a professional services firm, you will probably be familiar with this because you're in that space and linked to that financial and investment piece. It interestingly extends into corporate governance. So it's not just about the care of your people in terms of the social element and the care of the planet in terms of the environment piece, but it does extend out into corporate governance, corporate risk, health and safety, things like that, which is a good thing to bring into the equation, because that is all about sustainability of an organization. And are you set up to thrive in the longer term? It also is very much focused on measurement and quantification of both impacts and risks, which is also a good thing, because businesses run on measurement, targets, budgets. They say what gets measured gets managed, and ESG extends that so that you're looking at measurement and quantification of measurement and targets, not just on money, but on governance issues, on social issues and environment issues. So the ESG framework is a useful one to understand as well, and is very closely overlapped and linked with the people, planet, profit piece. The other concept which I think is important for for firms to understand whether you're a normal business or whether you're a professional services firm is one of value chain. So this is understanding, and this, I hope this resonates clearly with marketers, and which is why I think another reason why I think marketers are so important to this debate is that your sustainability impacts and your opportunities can appear at any point in your value chain, and your brand's reputation for being sustainable or not can be impacted along any point in that value chain. So what do I mean by the value chain? Well, what I mean is you have a supply chain that may be substantial or not, but you do have a supply chain. You have within your organization, you have the distribution of your organization, you know, how you operate as an entity. You have a distribution of your products and services, and then you have your customers and how your customers behave and how your customers use your products and services. And along that value chain, your sustainable impacts can appear anywhere. So you can get your house in order within your own organization, but there could be issues going on in your supply chain. There could be issues going on in your distribution. There could be issues going on with customers. So obviously the initial focus you'll want to have is on your own organization. How efficient and climate neutral are your operations? You know, as an example, on the environmental side, on the social side, how well do you do on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace? There are two big issues that you obviously want to get to first, but there may be some stuff in your supply chain. If you work in a professional services firm, there's not a huge supply chain, but there will be some points there. And equally, if you're in a professional services firm, there won't be a lot in distribution, but there might be. And if you're in a production business, then how your products get to market, how even your services sometimes get to market, can have an impact. People sometimes feel uncomfortable about bringing customers into this, but what your clients or your customers do with your advice and services, and whether that encourages or discourages them to be more or less sustainable, I think is really, really important. You know, I don't want to draw sort of direct parallels, but the professional advice, if you're in a professional services firm, the professional advice that you provide and what that then means in terms of how clients behave, I think that is relevant in this conversation. And I think it is particularly relevant in your brand's conversation. We've already seen people question, for example, in the PR sector, who are consultants, professional advisors, we all have people question PR companies that maybe believe they're being ethical and behaving well in terms of how they operate, but people have been questioning sometimes about the advice that they've been providing to sort of, for example, big oil around climate denial. Now, that could well extend to other professional services firms. Now, one might well say, well, that's professional advice. That's what we're asked to do. We're asked to be independent. I think that comes into your value chain. People can question that. People can debate it, but I think that has to be considered. So, in essence, are your products, are your services, is your advice helping your customers and clients lead a more sustainable life? I think that's an important part of your value chain. And the reason, as I come back to why I think this is important for marketers, is we understand that if something goes wrong or if something goes really well at any point in this value chain, it can detract from or enhance the value of our brand. I think we understand that in a way that a lot of other people don't. So I think we have to think about this. So as a starting point in terms of, well, how do you think about becoming a more sustainable organization? You could do something like this, which is a sort of simple model, which is you could take those aspects of your value chain, supply chain, organization, distribution, customers, and then think across either people, planet, profit, or environment, social governance, and start to identify priority and impacts and opportunities for your organization and brand. Where in your value chain do you need to improve your sustainability on people, planet, and profit, or environment, social governance? It's just a simple model that can help you start to think, where are the risks, where are the opportunities? That's in the toolkit that I mentioned about earlier before. I will now split back round to marketing specifically. We're all scared witless of being seen to greenwash, to overstate how well we're doing, which sometimes causes marketers to step back into the shadows and try not to say anything at all. So also in the checklist, sorry, in the toolkit, we've put together a how to avoid greenwash to-do list. So these are things that you can do as marketers to help avoid any greenwash claims coming at your organization or brand. And you can use this to-do list to, check against whether you're matching up to your sustainability credentials. So I won't run through all of them in the interest of time, but I'll just pick out a few here. Be transparent and list your data sources on any claims. So if you make any claims, make sure that data is evidenced. Understand, your impacts throughout your value chain, and don't over promote again in one area if you still have significant impacts elsewhere. So that's something that organizations often fall down on. They know they're having a big impact in one area, but they over communicate on another. So I was reading something recently about McDonald's promoting one of their, talking about being carbon neutral, because they had set up one of their branches in terms of its, they significantly improved its energy use, reuse of renewables, recycling, everything like that. That's great. It's really, really good to see them do that. But don't over promote that, given that we all understand that animal food production is a big impact on the climate, particularly beef. And therefore, how can you be climate neutral if you're selling a lot of burgers every day? It's not to say they shouldn't sell burgers. It's not to say that that is the wrong thing to do. It's just think about the claims that you're making. If you're making a small improvement in one area, but you've got a big impact to address in the other, be open, communicate, do that, talk about it properly. Don't try and divert attention. So a lot of different points there in terms of what you can do from a greenwash thing. And I'll pick up one in the last column there, which is explain your journey, where you are, where you're heading, how you'll progress, and show a commitment to update people. This isn't about, as I said earlier, this isn't about a single point in time. This is not about saying we're great. It's about saying this is where we started, this is where we are, this is where we're heading, this is how we're going to progress. That's how to communicate. That's how to avoid greenwash. So use that to-do list. Make sure you are positive, make sure you're upbeat, be positive and confident about your achievements, but remain modest. So the to-do list is in there. And then also we have an overall sustainable marketers checklist in there. So these are 3 things that we think you can do in terms of identifying the opportunity, working with others, and then taking taking a lead. So I've just highlighted 3 again in the interest of time to not be talking at you for too long. So the first thing is, hopefully there's already this discussion going on within your organization. You might have done a lot, you might have done a little, but there will be enthusiasts on this. Quite often it comes out, if you have a health, safety and environment team, it might be coming from there, it might be coming from leadership, it might be coming from just people's enthusiasm in the business. But find your sustainability champions, champion in your organization and offer them your marketing skills. Get involved. Use those comm skills that I talked about earlier to help progress this agenda. Use those skills in terms of your understanding of value chain and impact. Use our marketing toolkit as part of that. And therefore then, from partnership, help to communicate the urgency, because this is important. We need to do stuff on this now, but also identify the opportunity and celebrate success. Make people feel good about doing something in this arena. There are a lot of, we can all get a little bit depressed. We can all get a little bit knocked back. We can all think there's a mountain to climb. We can all think that we're rubbish and we're not getting anywhere. That's not the case. It is, it is a big mountain, but we can get over it. So help to communicate the urgency, but identify both the opportunities and the risks. And by opportunities, I mean, I think this is a really coming agenda. I think this is an area that if you do well as an organization, it can help you differentiate from your competitors. It can help you appeal to your customers and your clients. So I think this is something to be proud of if you are making progress. I think this is something where you can take leadership. So you should be able to get to a position where you celebrate success. And you should, if you do that at a time where you sort of say, we've made this progress, but we've still got this to do, and this is where we're heading, then you can celebrate that success and not get knocked back in terms of being accused of greenwash. And thirdly, what I think marketers can do is that they can take a lead. They can help build sustainability principles. They can help build sustainability ambition into your brand proposition. So what people know you for, what you are famous for, includes an aspect of your sustainability agenda. I think that can become a clear differentiator, and it's for marketers to build that into your proposition. So as a final rallying call, and then as I said, I'm happy to stick around and answer questions or continue the discussion. Why do I think marketers matter on sustainability? Well, I think there's a whole range of reasons, but first and foremost, I think marketers can cut through complexity. Sustainability can be seen as a complex, multifaceted, difficult to understand agenda, as I've mentioned earlier on. I think we can cut through that complexity and identify really where the opportunities are. I think we can really communicate well. I think we can get to the nub of things, and that's what we do on a day-to-day basis across a whole range of issues. I think we can do it here. Secondly, marketers tell compelling stories. We are storytellers. That's what we do. You might not think, if you're writing up a case study about a project win or about a piece of work that your firm has done or a service that you provide, that you're a storyteller, but you are. You turn complex technical information into things that clients understand. You do them in words, you do them in graphics, you do them in video, you're doing them in multimedia. But marketers know, or good marketers know, how to tell compelling stories. And in the sustainability arena, we need more compelling stories. And lastly, marketers understand brand values. We understand why our customers value us, why they like our brands or don't like our brand. We understand that along that value chain, our brand can be impacted in a variety of ways, in a variety of areas. We understand that, and we need to build sustainability into those brand values. Otherwise, the long-term future of our organization, let alone the planet, is at risk. So on that last clarion call, I will leave you. I'll keep an eye on the chat if you've got any questions, or even come off mute and shout them out. As I said, we will share around the slides. If you want to get in touch after today, please do email with me. Please do link up on LinkedIn. And as a final reminder, if you're really interested in our Marketers Sustainability Toolkit, you can download it from marketingcollege.com/sustainability. I would at this point usually hand back to Gail, but as I said at the start of the event, Gail unfortunately wasn't able to be here today, so we wish her well, and I'm sure at the next event she'll be back in her normal bright and bubbly and enthusiastic form. If you want to know more about events that either PSMG or Cambridge Marketing College are lining up, then everything's on the respective websites. So I will just pause now. As I said, if you've got any questions, then please do either include them in the chat or ask them out. But otherwise, thank you very much for coming along today. Hope you found the session useful, and please do go back into your organizations, preach the sustainability potential, get involved, share your skills, find your sustainability champions, and start to have an impact. Thanks very much, everybody. Bye. Thanks, Lauren. I think we can end the recording. I'll just drink my tea unless anybody's got any questions. Okay, it doesn't look like anybody's got any questions. Thank you for your messages and support. I think, Lauren, we can end the session.